ask if our police chief, excuse me, fire chief would deliver the invocation, please.
Please bow your head. Oh, gracious and Heavenly Father, just thank you for bringing this group together. And let's do the goodwill for the city. And just bless everyone here. Just give it a train of thought to do what's right through your name, Father. Just bless everyone here. Give safe passage. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Okay, we're going to move right along. Chair will entertain a motion to waive the reading and approve the minutes of the September 8th regular city council meeting. Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by nay? Ayes have it. Item 4, presentations. Possible new hires? Possible.
We do have some. Let me get a list here prepared for next week. So I can hire presented to us tonight. I didn't bring them along.
He's not here?
The new hire?
He's your hire?
I might have.
No. Who's hired?
Who's on first?
We don't have any here.
Do you hire someone without time?
An assistant to, Bob's got an assistant now. Assistant to the assistant.
Not quite.
Okay.
So we do-
Promotions then?
We do
Promotions.
have a proclamation.
Proclamation, yes ma'am. You can only get away with so much before the clerk starts jerking back in line. All right, this evening we have a proclamation recognizing the Domestic Violence Awareness Month. If you'd like to come up, I know you brought us. I hate to take it. You have extras?
I do have some extra.
Okay, all right. So make sure you get a purple ribbon if you would like to wear one before you go. Sort of trapped in here. So every year this time we declare October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and the city would like to present this to you. Normally we would read it, but it's a lot of whereases, so I thought it may be more compelling if you would just tell us a little bit about what you're doing for Domestic Violence Awareness Month, what we can be doing to support you in that.
Okay, very good. So PD Coalition is a nonprofit volunteer organization that's dedicated to the reduction of sexual assault, domestic violence, child abuse prevention, and to the needs of its victims. And during October, we take this time to recognize those that have been affected by domestic violence and those that are supportive, trying to help people leave whenever they're in need of assistance. We're in 9 different counties now, and in Darlington last year we helped 224 victims. So that's quite a staggering number, but the good thing is now South Carolina is not ranked 10th any longer. We're now ranked 11th in the nation. But South Carolina did have 41 victims to be killed as a result of domestic violence last year. So we always try to make that change, and just hope that everyone will support us by wearing purple. And we also have a hashtag, Purple Jewels, Precious Power. So we ask that you wear your jewelry and show your support of the victim.
Yep, thank you. So we did want to present you with this proclamation, and thank you. If we can do anything to kind of further help you,
Okay.
let us know. Do you do purple lights, or is that more for like autism and some of those?
I don't know
Just
the
the
purple
purple
lights,
ribbons.
but the purple ribbons,
Okay.
the purple jewels, and obviously wearing purple when you count on Wednesdays. So
Yeah.
that kind of correlates back into October.
Well, if you could get us some, I'm sure we'd love to, have some available at City Hall.
Sure.
Try to do our best to help support.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I'm trying to not get too close.
No, you don't stand close.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
That's semi-social distance.
Yep.
Thank you.
Wearing my mask too.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Thank you. I coughed all through lunch with Bobby today, so if he gets sick, you can blame me. I did.
If I call,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay, thank you again. So, manager's update, please.
I just want to follow up on the special council workshop that we had dealing with the stormwater issues, and we did some extensive research into, I sent you guys an email if I want to just go over it. So essentially, we discovered through title searches that the ditch was never turned over to anyone. That's why any executives, title searches at the time yielded nothing. So we went even further and did title searches on the properties themselves that go along the ditch, and it turns out the property owners themselves own the ditch. They own portions of it. Because it was a right-of-way that was never turned over, it still is actually, in fact, their land. Even though GIS maps might show it as something separate, the deeds themselves do not delineate that it is separate. So, that leaves us with a few different options. The one that I went over with the council is that I believe it's prudent for us to try and assist the citizens who are on that ditch, and in fact the entire neighborhood, and turning that over to SCDOT. That's an uphill battle. We're all aware of that. We do have a few things going for us. In fact, all the DOT system does drain into that ditch, and they are utilizing it for their system. It does help us. So that's kind of where we're at this point. We stopped any progress on any type of retention just for the moment, because if we do go forward with any type of retention, I do have to come back to you for expenses that are going to be related for hydraulic studies and core studies. So this is something that we can try and start and maybe actually get DOT's assistance with to help fix it before we start to fix their problem. That's at least our stance on it, but we certainly can retain, like we talked about in the workshop, doing something with the city and using city funds. That does lead us again to further conversations about how we want to pay for that and what mechanism to fund that we're going to need to do. So, and we again will talk about that in the finance committee, really drill into it about what the funding mechanism would be. So that's really the update. I'm welcome to take your feedback on what you guys think about that, since we got them briefed.
Could we set a meeting with the legislative delegation to give them that information, ask for their
Yes,
help?
I mean, I think that we're ready to do that now, because we have the information available. I think that it would be a good idea to go through them first, as opposed to going from the bottom up, to let this be a top-down kind of initiative. The bottom-up approach would probably yield to a no. So that's where we're at this point.
And in lieu of trying to get it turned over to DOT versus having it turned over to us, is that even a consideration on that? I mean, that it was during our discussions that, you know, somebody has to say they own that.
Yes.
Nothing is going to get done until that's clarified. We've got people, meantime, having millions of gallons of water dumped in their houses. I had another resident, 712 West Carolina, called me, west of 5th Street, called me and say that she just noticed all the floors in her house are buckled and she's got to go back in and have those replaced. I didn't even realize she was getting backed up. She's between Kenwood and the ditch on North 5th Street, right at the bottom of the hill.
Sure.
Talbot is the last name.
Yes, sir. So that's still not off the table, of course. The issues that we're running into that we thought that we might have to work on getting permission to do things, we do have a right-of-way going through that with our sewers, so some of those issues that for us to start working on things won't be as difficult now because we do have that right-of-way access. The reason why I would say DOT first is only because DOT is equipped to handle stormwater at this present time. We are not. We are not in the stormwater business. We can be, but that requires some significant leaps by us. We can, however, expend money like we were talking about to try and fix this specific issue. The only issue that, the only potential concern with that, and this is something I brought up in the email, is we have already obligated a significant amount of money to be determined from that FEMA study that's going on currently. It will be due back to us January 1st. The estimates for that preliminary were close to $800,000, again, that we have to find a funding source for. And if we do not fund that, then we can phase it. But if we do not fund any of that and reject the FEMA money, we do stand the potential to risk losing any potential further litigation grants from FEMA because they see that as we're not able to commit to something that we've already committed to. That doesn't necessarily mean that we cannot factor to program in improvements elsewhere, but that is where we have to look at the spending money first. So that's something that once we have an idea of what There's costs will entail, which we know kind of from the Cameron area, but really once we know the costs from the FEMA mitigation study, and that's the 9th Street area, South Hartsville, West Hartsville. That's what that study was targeting. Once we know what that cost will be, I believe we'll be in a much better position to hold the capital improvement plan to be discussed in the finance committee to then be programmed into how we're going to pay for it. So I mean, that's really where we're at this point. We know who owns the ditch or who doesn't own the ditch. We know that it's going to be an uphill battle, and we know that we have to either find a way to fund these things or turn it over to someone else.
Well, we also know the DOT is, their stormwater system is feeding directly into the ditch.
Completely rely on it. There's no other way around it. If the homeowners were to go and fill it up, which is apparently their property, that would, they would cause a huge headache for DOT. Not a headache, that's not the right word. Catastrophe for DOT.
If we could expedite those meetings with the delegation, and maybe a smaller grouping of council could be present at your discretion or Bobby's discretion. I think that would, I mean, every time it rains, the issue doesn't get better, it gets worse. So if we could escalate that and consider it an emergency.
When the FEMA grant comes in, what do they have to match it, 20, 25%?
It's a 20% match, and it can be phased. It's just that council obligated us back in 2000, and I believe, Shannon, 17, 18?
Somewhere,
Right
17, I think.
after Florence, or close to it or after. So these were mitigation grants that were done to prevent flooding from massive storms such as the hurricane that's come through. And so this has been on the books, and FEMA. It does take a while to get these things done. It is essentially 80% free money. So it is extremely worth our time to do it now. The study area was chosen, I believe, and Russ and Jen can help you with this. It was chosen, this was before my time, but you can speak to why that study area was chosen?
I believe it was economic based, is what I understood, because it does impact a large portion of the city, but it deals directly with the south side of the city, and is also keyed into the 9th Street Ditch being one of our main stormwater ditches inside the city, because almost everything feeds into it.
So that study should provide some better information for the Richardson Circle issues that have been happening.
It also, and it goes all the way from Richardson Circle, and it actually goes down to the post office area and the Swift Creek area and out to Snake Branch, Governor's School, so it's a large portion of the city.
Okay.
But that is just a study that's going to say these are your issues. There's nothing to resolve that 800 or whatever it is.
No, this study
That's just a free study that we're paying to help that much money for a study to come in and say you have problems, which we already.
No, the study also will designate areas, projects for us to fix as well.
Yeah,
From
but
the
that's
study.
what I mean, but then we have to have capital. We've got to come up then with the money to do the fixes.
Yes, the projects that are recommended from the study.
This is just
They'll
a
come up
study.
with the study.
So there won't be any engineering deliverables that say, this ditch is out of grade, needs to be changed 3 inches.
No, I believe that is
No,
what
that
will be the result of the
Okay,
study.
so all but for the work, we'll have the problem at hand.
Yeah, I guess I just hope that after 3 years of a study and $800,000 that we get.
The study is not $800,000. The study was close to about $100,000 or so. Or even less.
260.
Yeah, 263, something like that.
The $800,000 I'm speaking of is our essentially match. And then that's 20% of the potential. I mean, we're talking millions of dollars worth of improvements that FEMA is willing to work with us on. Again, our portion would be close to $800,000.
So if we come up with the 600,000 or 700,000, FEMA will match
Yes, to
80%
do
of
the
that
to do all
to
the
fix these
projects.
problems in town.
That's the missing link I was looking for. We come up with the match, that drives the cost, that drives the repairs.
Yes, sir. So
They
our
studied
match,
it, this is what you need to do, you bring money to the table, and they come in with the other part of it. Thank you.
Okay, anything further?
Yeah.
Madam?
I was down on Myrtle Street on yesterday, and it was just appalling to have someone down in that area, to have their home, they have the same type problem. So Butler Street, the Marion Street ditch, Butler Street and Chapman Circle, and then on further down into the Myrtle Street area. What are we gonna do there?
Well, I don't know, I have to check to see what the study area, if that actually does encompass some of that area, but the answer is that, the answer is we need to figure that out. We have significant flooding issues outside of the study in the Kenwood area, in the Myrtle area. Again, this is where we need to engage DOT to see if they can assist, because again, most of the system is theirs, but if the city is willing to take on the burden and the expenses, and that's something that you as the body can decide to do. So the answer is whatever you choose to do. Now, we can make recommendations based on that. But again, right now, we do not have a funding mechanism to do that, and the utility fund cannot support to take on utilities, the stormwater system. That's right at the top, but just cannot. So that's something that you as the body will have to make that decision to see if you want to take on that responsibility. The stormwater fee before was going to pay for some operational expenses. I believe if the next stormwater fee, if we do have one, if you guys choose to do that, could be tied strictly to a capital improvement project, so that money can be tied directly to fix problems, not to operate mainly, because we're already doing that right now. So I think there's a little bit of a dynamic shift in how we're looking at doing these things. But the answer is we need the money first, and then you will decide as the body if you choose to take on that burden. So I think that to answer your question immediate, we certainly can talk to DOT and see what everything we can do to fix those immediate issues. But that's the long term. The answer for long term is how we fix it completely, and those are the what I was told you.
But if the short term is already DOT, if the short term is already DOT's problem, then where are we?
We're with the DOT, it's still DOT's problem. And DOT, as you know, is severely underfunded. Their maintenance, at least, is very underfunded, and they are struggling to get these things done across the entire state. So we can plead and try, and we can go and talk to delegates and see what we can do, and we can form a coalition to try and get these things fixed and partner with them, but they will most assuredly hand it over to us if we want it. But that's where we're at.
What I'm hearing, if DOT took it tomorrow, we would still have issues in other places that we need to look at some serious long-term solutions.
But that would give us the opportunity to partner with them as opposed to taking on the burden ourselves.
And when you look at this map that the manager provided to us, all of us, a few months ago, and you realize how much of the city comes down into that area. Now, I never thought the scope of that was so large, but we catch a lot of it down the hill, so to speak, and it's coming from all different directions, just all over the city, just because of the way our pipes and drains are. The whole thing comes up because we as a city and cities all over the state and the country have never put aside money. We wait till things break, and then they're super expensive, and then we got to go find some money instead of setting aside some reserves somewhere down the line to have some money to do maintenance along and pay for it. So somewhere, let's change that and try to, you said, work on a different approach to it. Just this doesn't work. This costs the taxpayers more money in the end. We have to find it from somewhere. Grants are nice, but somebody's still paying for those too.
And again, that's where if council wants to consider taking over stormwater systems, that's the decision many cities do for any other utilities. And you do it better than the next public body. And so that is something that you, as elected officials, have to answer on the citizens' behalf. But that is, body's exactly right. We wait till things are broken, but we can try to take a practical approach, but to the city's defense and to your defense, this was something that the city was not preparing for because, again, it wasn't our problem. It is our problem because it's our citizens, but at the end of the day, it is DOT's stormwater system. So utilities, we do take responsibility for and have reserves to fix our utilities. So the water fund is prepared to repair water-related emergencies, wastewater-related emergencies, but not stormwater. And that's just, we can't be all things to everyone unless you guys so choose. So that's how we are.
And if this is not the place to discuss it, cut me off, but you've been working with some of our partners here in town that sort of contribute to the problem in a roundabout way. Any progress on that front?
Just to the fact that we now have an answer of who owns the ditch. That was the first piece that we need to find out so that we can go to DOT's first ones. To our partners, I believe we have some interest, but again, it comes down to money and whether or not they're willing to pay for it. I don't know if they're out now.
And specifically, I was talking about Sunoco.
That's what I'm speaking about as well. So this is perfectly fine to discuss that here. Sunoco is a major player in this. We all know that. They did just, they are communicating with us. They did TV the line to let us know that they did remove a beaver dam. Apparently that was in the line. So that certainly should help some. But other than that, the line itself is in immaculate shape, other than the fact that it was stuck with beaver homes. But that's good. So structurally, the dam is, the line is intact. That's great. It's still, I believe, half of what we need. We do have opportunities to shift some of the water with potential future projects. Canal is a potential to shift the water that's coming through downtown through to the Swift Creek, Safe Branch area. So we can do things proactively going forward to try and fix some of these issues. I just wish we could wave a magic wand and make it all better now, but that's kind of where we're at. I think if DOT does accept the responsibility of the ditch, then we have another partner to help us. We would still have we'll put some skin in the game. So.
Anything further? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Manager. Items on the consent agenda will be received without objection and approved. Item 6 is a public hearing and final reading of ordinance 4402. This time, the chair will open the public hearing. If you'd like to be heard on final reading of ordinance 4402, if you rise, state your name and address for the record, please limit your comments to 2 minutes or less. Anyone who wishes to be heard on ordinance 4402? Hearing none, chair will move to close the public hearing and entertain a motion to adopt.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we adopt ordinance 4402.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Sir.
So I gave the manager a title this afternoon. I looked on the county records. 231 is the incorrect address of the property. It should be 229, I'm sorry. I'd like to offer, that building was split into 231 goes with the car wash, 229 is the old Blackpool Insurance Agency. So somehow the proper amendment needs to be made to.
Well, we'll mark that up as a Scrivener's error, and the clerk will adjust it.
Okay. And I still want to go on record as against this. I think we have a vibrant Main Street system as part of the city now. I believe it is part of their responsibilities to be looking for active, viable businesses that are open 5-6 days a week to complement other businesses downtown. Again, nothing against church. I just don't like this as a 1 or 2 day a week type thing. It's not what our Main Street should be working for. That's just been going to stop. Just want to go on record and stuff.
Okay. Anyone wish to add comment or discussion to that?
But now that is the block over, it's not downtown. It's
It's
right
not.
next to the car wash, right?
But it's still, as we try to.
I mean, I understand what you're saying, but it's not.
It's close enough, but it's on the main drive, and again, it's just, if it's closed 5 days a week, it looks like a vacant building there. And we've got people, I think, for that small space, so many new people who want to start businesses, I think we could find a viable business to go in there. The $500 we're going to get for this is not enough to make a difference in the world.
Yeah, so I would agree with the councilman's position. It's in close enough proximity to downtown to be impactful for retail incubation, which we seem to have a lot of right now. The greatest, in talking with the manager, asked, what's his recommendation is, it's $500 and we don't have anything else on the table right now. I don't like the fact that it's operating, 1 day a week and closed, or 2 days a week and closed, the rest of the time. I hope that's not the case, certainly because there is an issue with people coming downtown and stores looking like they're closed. We have enough trouble with that on Monday or whatever the day that traditionally stores choose to close. When it used to be when Johnny was growing up, it was Wednesday.
Yep. This afternoon.
Yeah, Wednesday. And so to come in a place that looks, occupied but out of business, it is concerning.
Does this business have sprinkler system? I mean, is it approved for an assembly? Is it got all that?
So
Do we know that for sure?
I asked the fire chief, and it has to comply with a fire plan, but it's not over 5,000 square feet, so it doesn't have to have an architect, it doesn't have to have sprinkler, but it will have an occupancy rating. I mean, it's not gonna be 300 people.
It has to meet all before we can.
Where do they park? I mean, where's parking for church? There's no parking.
Behind it, they have a little area behind it that can park.
That's tiny one, that little
Yes.
parking lot that kind of drops off back there. Is it still back there?
Yes,
It was
sir.
a rough shape years ago. But I guess
Yes.
Well, this is only a 6-month lease.
Yeah,
So I think,
6
if
months
we want
to
to move forward with finding a more suitable tenant, I think we can do that after, during a 6-month
It
lease.
says 6 months to 1 year.
Um,
That's what I'm
Are
reading.
we not looking at the potential when it comes down to people a pastor can bring? I'm just curious. I mean, because if we send the wrong message, I get it. There could potentially be a more viable business. I understand it. But at the same time, do we discredit the potential they could bring downtown? That's my thing.
And so it's a valid thought. I said it's hard to say no to a church, and I said that last month. But just from where it is and other available spaces we have, I just don't think it's the highest and best use for that property.
Right.
and the lease agreement says it ends the first day of May 2021.
so to that end, we're making a decision in the vacuum because we haven't met with them, we don't know if, maybe they're gonna be there 7 days a week, right? We don't know what that potential is. It would be nice to know that. Historically, this body has voted against churches downtown more than a decade ago, and then more recently they've voted for churches, which is why we now have some downtown. So the body has certainly shifted positions from where it was before.
Mayor Pro Tem is exactly right about the lease. It clearly says 6 months on that, and it ends in May of 2021. That's in the lease. I was just looking at the ordinance.
So I think, to Johnny's point, and probably to the managers as well, 6 months will give us a good indication of if it's a valuable investment, if they are going to bring a nice element to downtown, and it'll at least help them get established and look for a place to grow out of. So I think that's a fair compromise.
Yeah, I think we have a following. But if you remember, we had a business located there in the beginning to house or to a place for the children to do their dance routines, rehearsals and everything. And then when we came to find out, she was actually running a business out there.
Right.
So that's something, we need to give them a chance. And if it appears, if you want them to know, then have them come and give us a presentation.
Yeah, I think that's, I'm not sure that's completely necessary. I do think it's a great suggestion. I think the Mayor Pro Tem's idea of 6 months probably gives us a good opportunity to evaluate that relationship.
That's what
Personally, I've never gotten over the fact that Miss Osteen's toy store closed. That was the coolest place in the world as a kid. So we'll see how that works. Is there any further discussion on the matter? Okay, hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by nay. The ayes have it. We're going to move into item 7 on the agenda. Under new business, emergency ordinance 4403. If the manager will publish the title of the ordinance.
Yes, sir. Emergency ordinance 4403 is emergency ordinance to reauthorize the requirements of face coverings in certain circumstances, to reauthorize operations for electronic meetings and other matters related thereto.
So just for clarification, because this came up last time, is it the understanding of the body that the emergency ordinance has a single reading?
Yes, sir. So this is a reauthorization of the exact emergency ordinance you guys passed to begin with. This will be the second or third time that we've renewed it.
affected.
And so it only requires a supermajority to pass, but because as an emergency ordinance under that title, it does offer that one single reading.
Okay, just to make the body aware. Okay, Chair will entertain a motion. Did you already publish it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Chair will entertain a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
And we had talked about signage for businesses. Are we gonna follow through with that?
Yes, sir. We have the signs available, and I've already talked to our public information officer. She will be presenting those to businesses.
Right, and as I was leaving the house, CNN's reporting, they're starting the fall, second wave. So, it may not have gotten to South Carolina yet, but, it's on the way.
Masks have been affected.
Yeah, USC did a study last week that the results were published and clearly showed that cities who have enabled these ordinances have seen better results than those who did. Very good.
I thought you were in NPR.
Well, when I'm in the house, I'm not seeing it. I'm in the car, yeah.
So just for the record, and for the benefit of the council, the hospital did call, and they, again, wanted to reiterate their support for continuation. They see it as effective, and they stand behind it. For what, just for the record. So, this time, the chair, Madam?
Mr. Mayor, I wanted to note that, some of the stores, like convenience stores, they are not saying anything to the patron because they can't police the patron. And it's something that when we get the signage now, what's going to be done because people just don't want to wear a mask. What are we going to do about that?
I don't think that we have very many options to do that, how the ordinance is written. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Please just contact the non-emergency line for police, and they certainly will come out and address it.
All right.
All right, if there's nothing further, Chair will entertain a motion to adopt.
We've already had.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by nay? The ayes have it. Item 8 on the agenda is Resolution 10-20-01, a resolution to commit additional match funds for construction of the South Park Pump Station and sewer upgrades and approval of the bid award contingent of approval by South Carolina Department of Commerce Grants Administration. Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Anything the manager wishes to add?
Only that, so when we received the 3 bids that came in, they were over the budget amount. And so what we need to do is actually amend to add money to the project, $76,000 and some change. Let me see. The exact number, but it's a little over $76,000 to make this whole. Now this is a CDBG grant money, so this is a project that's 80% funded. So we are getting an $800,000 project for the cost of $200,000. Budget amendment towards the end of the year, as you guys are used to do this, but we do have to take funds out of the water utility reserves to pay for this. This is what the price came back is, and avoid having to go back out and risk either coming back higher than it came back. We opted to go ahead and present it to you guys with the new budget amount.
Okay.
If I was at the housing authority meeting this morning, Kimberly asked me about that, and I told her I would find out.
Okay.
When, like completion day, and I told her I would try to find out as best I could.
Sure. We can provide that to you as soon as we have it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no further discussion on the resolution, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by nay? The ayes have it. Item 9 on the agenda is Resolution 10-20-02, a resolution for approval of a bid award for emergency generators for well sites. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? This has been a long time coming. And we got lucky on the last hurricane. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by nay? Resolution carries. Item 10 on the agenda is Resolution 10-20-03, a resolution for approval to apply for a South Carolina Parks and Recreation Development Grant, also known as PARD. Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Manager, wish to add anything?
Yes, only, this was money that we were informed that is left over, that PARK had available, and we so happen to have a project that is in dire need of repair. The pier down by Lawton Park has been closed off to the public because we determined that it was unsafe for humans to occupy this time. This is, of course, a $40,000 project that we can get done for $77,000 because of PARK money. That's why we're bringing it back to you guys kind of out of term, but we think that this is a great project that we can move forward, and hopefully we will get it. So we need your approval to apply for it.
Sounds good. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by nay? The ayes have it. There is nothing for executive session this evening? In a parting comment, I would ask the manager if you would look into initiating a special council meeting for the discussion of the Northern League ball field turnovers as soon as possible. Unless anyone objects to having that discussion. All right. Then if there's nothing for executive session, thank you all for coming. And without any further objection, we stand adjourned.
Good luck.